Upheavals for families during the war came from the evacuation of children away from the danger of bombing. One of those children was Howard, whose family sought refuge in the Lake District when their hometown of Barrow was blitzed.
In May 1941, Barrow in Furness was devastated by German bombers. Attacks intended to cripple the town's shipping industry affected much of the civilian population too. Houses were razed to the ground, more than 90 people were killed, and hundreds more were made homeless. Some, like Howard Bradley's relatives, just fled to the hills.
The people of the village took a very serious view of it and were extremely helpful and were falling over backwards to help us.
The Bradley family had found a safe and welcome refuge in the Lake District, and Howard and his parents decided not to go back and stay where it felt safe. The next 4 years of Howard's surprise evacuation were to change his life forever.
It was wonderful to come as a boy from Barrow. I saw the animals, and they had provided us with most of our necessities. We couldn't manage without them. At breakfast time, we always had nice boiled eggs from the hens, which was lovely. And if it was bacon, it would be really very good. Because the advantage of living in the country was that you had a lot of luxuries that people had to do without.
Like many children evacuated to the country, Howard fell in love with his new environment. And his contact with the animals there led to him eventually becoming a vet. Now back in the place of his childhood, he remembers those years very well.
You've got to be better than that, haven't you? Like any veterinary surgeon, I'm really buried in the country. My feelings are buried in the country, and the smells and the sounds that I've come across today have been absolute joy.
Howard's evacuation ended as the war ended in 1945. The family returned to Barrow, and as the rest of the country was celebrating victory in Europe, Howard and his friends made the fateful decision to abandon the celebrations and take to the countryside they had grown to love so much. As the VE Day parties carried on in the streets of the town, they set off for one of their favourite spots nearby, Kirby Moor.
We used to all love coming up to this place because there were the birds and the sky and the clouds and beautiful things.
On this historic day, as the boys played happily on the moor, they had little expectation that for them, the war was not over.
It did have one drawback, that the army had big areas of it as practice grounds, and it was not uncommon to hear the grenades going off in the distance.
Howard's memories of VE Day are recorded in one of his works of poetry.
And they've turned Kirby Moor into El Alamein. The army was here. Some did one happy squaddy, skiving off to the mess for his Newcastle Brown, has left a primed practice grenade by the beck for the first curious hands to reach down. We all marched up onto this hill, and we came up, I would say, this very lane here, just up along the top, and I was in the rear. Suddenly there was a sound which I recognised very well as a hand grenade, and it was just a thump. Your world ends with a bang, but no time for a whimper, though the larks soon restart their fierce songs overhead, as we find you like Caesar, your garments all blooded, like Caesar, silent and broken and dead. It looked like a battlefield because they were scattered and they were just saying help, help, help. And there was a a lot more blood than I had ever seen before. Human blood.
One of the boys had picked up a live hand grenade and was killed instantly. 2 others sustained horrific injuries. For a long time, the incident left a scar in Howard's memory.
But we were quite afflicted by it. It is the kind of thing that's very difficult to get over.